Hello, and welcome to this week's College Planning Tip of the Week. My name is Nancy Steenson with Steenson College Coaching, and with me today, as always, is Jack Wang. Jack, last time we talked about loans that students can take out. Can you tell us a little bit about the kinds of loans that parents can take out for their students?
Yeah, thanks, Nancy. That's a great question. So last time we talked about how student loans, the loans that students themselves can take out, while available, are a very limited amount. So oftentimes there's still a gap that families will still need to borrow. So there is something called a Parent Plus loan, which is the parent version of a student loan. And there are other options besides Parent Plus loans, but from the federal government, it's the Parent Plus loan. And quite simply, the terms are very similar to those of a direct student loan, which is fixed interest rate. Payments can be deferred while the student is in school, so no payments until after your student gets out, which, by the way, I should point out that oftentimes people say, well, payments don't start till after the student graduates. That's not actually true. Let me just clear that up. Payments start typically 6 months after your student leaves school, regardless of reason, right? So whether it's graduation or they decide to take a year or two off to backpack through Europe, if that's still a thing. I don't know if that's still a thing. Anyway, but plus loans, fixed interest rate, payments can be deferred. But the unique feature of the plus loan is parents are allowed to borrow essentially as much as they need to pay for college. In fact, the limit is the cost of attendance, right? The sticker price of the school, minus whatever aid the student received, minus whatever the student is borrowing on that direct loan. So if a parent or if a student is looking at a school that's $80,000 a year, and they can borrow that $5,500, the students, and there's no other aid available, then what that means is parents are allowed to borrow the 74,500, right? 80,000 minus 5,500 in that example. They can borrow that on a plus loan. Now, of course, whether they should or not is a different story, but they are able to. Plus loans come with a minimal credit check. Really, a credit score really has nothing to do with it. There are certain things like if you've had a foreclosure in the last 5 years, if you had a bankruptcy filing in the last 5 years, plus if you're really like seriously delinquent on some of your other loans, that will prevent you from getting a plus loan. But other than those things, you're basically approved, and the process is very quick. Having a job is not even a requirement of getting a plus loan, right? Any other loan that you and I might take, like a car loan or a mortgage, certainly, the bank wants to see us have income, but that's not true of plus loans. So parents can borrow as much as they need. The interest rate currently for this coming academic year, I think, is right around 6.4, 6.3 or 6.4% with a 4% loan fee. And I want to point out that I make that a point to mention those numbers because quite often parents say, wow, that's so expensive compared to other types of loans, or if I refinance my mortgage or did a home equity loan to pay for college. Yes, the rate may be higher, but it's not really expensive because plus loans, being a federal loan, like a direct student loan, has all sorts of baked in legal protections, things like disability discharges, baked in forbearance or deferment provisions, and things like that. So, and the ability to change a repayment plan as often as you like for whatever reason you like. Those things don't exist with other types of loans. So quite often, if you took a private loan and you structured it to be as close or as similar to a plus loan as possible, the rate is very, very comparable. So don't just look at the numbers, say, oh my goodness, we're not doing this. It's very high. Despite all of its advantages, there are some serious disadvantages. Namely, parents can borrow as much as they need and there's no income check. Several years ago, the Wall Street Journal did a story, and in the past there have been stories about parents borrowing, all this money to send their son or daughter to whatever school, and now they can't retire, right? Because it's the debt of the parent. It's not on the student, it's on the parent. You can go onto YouTube and find videos on this or whatever. Oh, I'm still 75 years old and I still need to work because I borrowed however much per year on a plus loan for my kid. The federal government now has to release data by school of how much parents borrow on average in plus loans to send their kid to that particular school. So parents can now see how much it is. But that's the danger, right? So if your son or daughter gets into that $80,000 a year school, they really want to go, you don't have the heart to say no, and you end up having to borrow $75,000 or $80,000 a year. Yes, you can do it, but the danger is, yes, you can do it, right? And that's where people get into trouble. So oftentimes you're going to hear, oh, plus loans are so bad, they're so bad. They're not bad tools, they're just poorly used in a lot of instances, which unfortunately leads to those stories that you and I then see in the news. So, but that's a plus loan. So I won't get into sort of what the payments are because the amount borrowed can vary, but the key question with the plus loan is just because you can, doesn't mean you should. Maybe yes, maybe no, but each family's got to figure that out for themselves.
Thank you so much for that, Jack. That was very interesting and really provide a lot of clarity as to what these loans are all about. Thank you everyone for joining us on College Planning Tip of the Week, and we look forward to seeing you next time.